Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. I'm Afefe with Touch by Tarot and Beyond, and I am here to do a taping today on what's going to be an introduction into a members only series that I'm about to do called Embodying Your Spiritual Path and Purpose. Initially, I was going to do this video for members only, but I decided to make it public to announce the series in case you want to join my membership and get in on the action with this. I'll put a link to my membership, how to join it below in the description box, so check that out. So I want to go right in, you all. If you are new to my channel, you'll see me do a lot of political videos because I used to be a newspaper journalist. So I kind of got a foot in both worlds. I tell people all the time, like I'm all about the facts and then I'm all about the spiritual. You know, I mix that woo-woo factor in with the reality and the tough stuff and the things that need to be examined. So that's a part of my practice in general. But for my members, I've always promised that I am an initiated priestess. Through several traditions, through the pagan tradition, through African Yoruba, and Cuban Lukumi Santeria. It took me a long time to work up my nerve to come out and really be public with that, because you never know how people are going to respond. For some people that's very intriguing. For other people it makes them think, there's all sorts of stereotypes around, especially anything Afrocentric or African based. There's a lot of stereotypes around what that means. But listen, that is a part of what I'm realizing more and more is my calling and my purpose. Talk about embracing your path and your purpose. Is to demystify that, is to clarify it, and to hopefully help people understand the beauty of many traditions. So let's get to the point. Initiation is the way to embody your spiritual path and purpose, you all. It's hands down initiation. Let's talk about that. And in the series, I'm going to go through all the phases of initiation, the more popular practices around it. I'm going to go and get into some techniques. I'm going to get into, and this is not full disclosure, setting my attention ahead of time. I am not interested or have an objective to indoctrinate anyone or to shift your beliefs or guide you down a certain path. I think what I'm excited about in doing this series, you all, is that my path has been very winding, very different. I've had exposure to so many different cultures. I have embraced teachings and learnings from elders of many different cultures. Today you will notice even I'm wearing a bindi dot over my third eye in respect to East Indian cultures as well, Hindu, etc. I believe, and I am doing this intentionally because as I came on today, I'm like, okay, I gotta have it open. I gotta make sure that I'm connecting both with spirit and also being able to relay, hopefully, information to you that it's very plain. Like, this is just talking that talk and having a conversation together for better understanding. All right, initiation. Let's think about it this way. For every phase of life, spirituality aside, for every phase of life, you think about it, we go through various stages of initiation. When we are children, babies, little folk, we become initiated into the ways of, say, school, for instance, right? We learn the behaviors of the classroom. We learn what it means to be a student, what's expected of us, and how that shifts as we advance, all the way through high school, and then if you go to college or whatever. But there is this initiation into what that means, how you operate, what's required of you. You're learning and stretching in that way, right? When we get into puberty and into young adulthood, there are experiences that we have, that first kiss or whatever, leave that to your imagination, but you get my point. There are stages of initiation. You become initiated into intimacy, into recognizing what you want or need from partnering and being with another, initiation. As we grow into adulthood and we've got the responsibilities, we launch a career, we have bills, we buy a house, or we have children or whatever, initiation. We learn these things about We are initiated going from one phase of life into another, and that is really, at the root of it, that and the heart of it, that's what initiation is. It is taking you from one state of being into another. So to embody your spiritual path and purpose, it requires a commitment to and a recognition of the need for initiation. You are not just learning about different things: psychic development, Reiki, crystals, numerology, astrology, all sorts of metaphysical, endeavors, shamanism, right? You're not just learning about those things, because you can read books till the cows come home. You can take workshops till the cows come home. But until you embody those things that you are learning, and that means to embody means to take action. It means it is in you, it is a part of you, it is how you move in the world. And that, my friends, is what initiation is about. Some people also relate it strictly to a particular mystery school or a particular religion. They think of it as you are being brought into a specific group or a specific paradigm. For instance, in Christianity, I came up in the Baptist church. There's baptism, right? There's baptism. There's communion. There are things that are expected and in due course of you becoming a part of that. Catholicism, there's what is it? There's the baptism, communion, and the Eucharist. That's it. So there are those things in mystery schools like the Kabbalah or Aleister Crowley. There are expectations and teachings that are meant to bring you into that specific school of thought or behavior or group, right? What I'm going to do and approach in this series is more broad based, because again, my objective is not to lead you or recommend one thing over another. My objective is to share with you some of my own experiences, which, as I said, I've done everything from Native American sweat lodge, to African ceremonies, to traveling, doing work in the remains of slave cabins with dancing and shouting and ring shouting, etc. I mean, I've done Diwali in a temple. The Festival of Lights was amazing. So I've had a lot of really rich experiences, you all. And what it taught me was that ultimately, I think what we're all doing, no matter where we're from or how it feels most natural to us, is we are in search of something greater and trying to decide, embodying our spiritual path and purpose, what parts of this really fit me? What parts of what I'm learning really can I adapt and then do something with it? Again, because that's initiation. It's not just about the learning, it is about the doing. It is about becoming. All right. Having said that, I want to explain in this introduction, there are 3 things that I'm going to go into pretty deeply in this series, and I'm not sure how long the series will be. I'm going to plan to run a video every week. Again, after today, it will be members only who will be able to access these videos. I'm thinking it's probably going to take me about seven videos to cover from the notes that I've done so far. So it will in fact be a series, okay? And I will leave those videos up. I've got a members only tab or playlist, I should say. So you'll be able to access them whenever you need them. But there's 3 things that we're going to go into pretty deeply, you all. One is going to be the 3 stages of initiation. One will be what some people refer to as separation or death, meaning it's that recognition that you want to go beyond the usual. You want to learn more. You want to do more. You feel yourself changing. You feel the urge to change. You feel the urge to really better understand your particular spiritual path and give yourself permission. If that means breaking away from the old, that's the separation. If it means, you don't do things the way that you used to do, it's that death card, all right? I said death card because I actually pulled some cards in tarot. I relate things to tarot. So there's that death card. Might as well go ahead and show it to you, right? There's that part of, think about it in terms of the death card. But what is death? Death often brings an ending, but it's because it's also prompting you towards a rebirth, all right? So there's that. Another card to think about with the one stage of initiation, the death or separation stage, is the hanged man, suspension. Because what happens with the hangman, what are we doing? We're re-examining things. We're looking at things from a different perspective, and we are surrendering to an experience that we've decided we need. We recognize our soul is calling us to have. So think about that. Death, the hangman, and the third card that I pulled for the beginning stages of initiation is the hermit. Makes sense, right? Because the hermit is that part of us, our soul, that is on that spiritual quest. And sometimes in order to complete that quest or to really, go for it, is we have to be willing to go on our own. We have to be willing to walk our own path, and that's that separation again. It's not literally, because when you're undergoing initiation, it's not like you still don't have the job, the family, the bills. Life doesn't stop because you're undergoing this, but it is more about your conscious, and your consciousness, and recognizing that when you decide to become initiated into your own spiritual path, pursue the path of an initiate. These are some of the things that you want to think about, all right? It's going to be a quest. It's not going to have to require an end of the way that you've typically done things, and it is about looking at things from a different perspective and surrendering to the experience. Phase 2 of initiations is what is often referred to as sort of a transition phase, or the actual act of transformation. This is where you take the classes, you take the courses, you watch the videos, you see movies, you're moved by things. Maybe your dreams start to really, take off, and you start getting signals of something more, something that's calling you spiritually, right? 3 cards that I have to share with you from tarot that are sort of examples of that are Temperance, because temperance is about taking two things, sometimes polar opposite things, and blending them together in a way that serves a higher good. So when we're talking about an ending of one way of life, of sometimes having to step away from what you were just taught, in terms of if you had a strictly religious background, for instance, in the church or whatever. Or some people have had no exposure to it. They may have grown up in an atheist household, but they feel like there is something else, something, some source out there. So that is a part of that temperance energy as well. It's taking something that feels like it may be very different, very, very separate and apart. I'm a pretty straight-laced person, not me per se, but you could be feeling like, I'm a pretty straight-laced person, but here I am ready to go into this metaphysical woo-woo. How do I incorporate that and blend that for a healing purpose? There's that temperance card. That's that transition, phase 2 of initiation. We can't even talk about it without the high priestess, right? Because the high priestess is that bridge between the divine and the earthling realm. It is that part of us that is born with our spiritual DNA. It is sacred knowledge. It is sacred wisdom that our souls carry over lifetimes. But then there's that, how do we reincorporate that? How do we shift and reincorporate that as we go through this phase of transition? So there's a lot of learning, a lot of shifting, a lot of being open to experiences, getting that third eye involved, right? And the third card that I pulled for phase 2 is the Magician. The Magician is where you will begin to take the different tools that you learn, the different books that you've read, the different modalities that you've studied, the different areas of metaphysical studies, of shamanism, of healing work, of energy work that really appeal to you. And that's what the Magician does. The Magician says, I take the elements that are presented to me. And very often we know that that's actual elements: earth, air, fire, and water, right? But it's also Reiki, crystals, astrology, tarot, right? It's where you take these different things that are available to you and you use them to consciously manifest and create for you what's going to be, or is maybe perhaps already, your own unique spiritual path, the one that more really resonates with your soul and is in alignment with your soul and purpose. All right. And finally, the third stage of initiation that I'm going to go into with this series, you all, is that series of what they call a return or a rebirth. Because phase one, that death, that transformation of, that death or release and separation, walking away, being willing to walk away from life as it's always been, sort of the daily ho hum, opinions of family, opinions of friends, identifying in the workplace as one part of yourself that embodies one part of your life and purpose, but also having this really deep internal part of you that wants to explore spiritually. All right, there's that part. Part two is that transformation, the tools that you use, that you learn, that you adapt, the teachings that you incorporate, the exercises, which we're going to get into some of that in the series. Okay, that's all about that transformational experience. And then this return is where, having done all that, now it's time to embody it. Now it's time to live it. Now it's time to understand and really have in perspective the ways that you've changed. You're not, you can't go back. Once you see something, you can't unsee it. Once you've done something, you can't undo it. Once you say something, you cannot unsay it, right? So there's this that's the embodiment, and there's power in that, there's empowerment in that. All right, so that's that phase three. And the tarot cards, I feel really highlight that for you all. Judgment, how could we not? Judgment is that, aha, I get it. It is lessons learned. It is a greater awareness. It is where you have such a rich and you have a confident connection to your spirit guides. It's a lot of us. Point that finger at me first and foremost. When we feel that we are getting pings from spirit, when we feel like our guides are telling us something, but then that rational mind kicks in and we start second guessing it, right? With judgment, there is no more second guessing, because now you know that you've been through those transformational experiences, and you have a sense of conviction of what you're talking about and what you have experienced. All right, so that's a part of it. And here comes the Hierophant, right? Because the Hierophant represents very much our faith, our beliefs, our institutions in those beliefs. So this is where perhaps your institutions have been around church or lack thereof, government, classrooms, places where you were taught about the soul, about spirituality, about metaphysics, about source and spirit guides. All of it. It's who you learned from and how you learned it. But now there's this deeper, richer sense that you have of your own ability to determine that for yourself. There's a certain independence that comes with embodying your spiritual path. And finally, talking about that independence, they call it the messenger in this deck, but it's really about I'm sorry, I just did that backwards, you all. I looked down. This is a different deck, the way that they label things, so I apologize to you for that. This teacher, I thought I was holding up the Hierophant. That is the messenger, number 5. I was holding up the they call it the teacher as the Emperor. That was my third card. I'm so sorry for that. So let me regroup. We started with judgment, that recognition and knowing that you've learned the lessons, you've incorporated the lessons, and you are in fact different than when you started and embarked on your journey to learn more and embody your practice, your own practice. Now let me get these two straight. Okay, so then we had the Hierophant, then they call it the messenger in this deck. And that is that, again, recognizing this body of knowledge that you have acquired that may be different, very different, and probably should be different from what you always knew. That's part of what all this experience is about. It's what an initiation is. It takes you from one state of being and brings you into another. And there are a series of initiations that you will encounter throughout life. I'll get into some of that in the series as well. And then finally, we did have the emperor. They call it the teacher in this deck. But the emperor is the leader. It is literally embodying your spiritual path and purpose. It is literally initiation, you all, helps you become the leader of your own spiritual well-being. It helps you find, not only define it, not only recognize it, learn it, release the old, learn the new, and then embody the new. Embody that. Embody that richness of experience that you've gained, and also recognizing that there is always more to come. There is always that, but it puts you in the position also of being the master of your own ship, and knowing that who's on the ship with you, your guides, your ancestors, the angels, the creator, however you identify, right? There you will always have assistance on this walk, but now, having come out of a period of initiation, you have that clarity of intention, that clarity of purpose, that sense of self, and so you are able to identify. In other words, I may say, I started this tape, I am a priestess, right? I went through the ranks of what's considered a high priestess in the Dianic tradition, in the pagan tradition. So and as well as some other, initiations and ceremonies that I underwent. But those are, I say that again to say, so therefore, when I get on this screen and present myself to you as a teacher of certain principles, when I get on, and I hear and I read tarot for you all, or oracles for you all, I do it with a sense of no ego involved. That's the first thing, you're off on the wrong track. But it's a confidence. It's I have done this work so long. I have gone through these series of initiations, and I continue to embody initiation in my daily practice, so that when I come to you, I can come to you authentically and in my space, with that clarity that I talked about earlier, having put on the bendy dot. So I hope that really pings you. I hope it rings a bell. I hope you'll join me. Members, my existing members, thank you so much. I will be back starting and getting more deeply into the series. Again, this was the introduction. So we're going to get into it next week, start it out. Please feel free to leave me your questions in the comment section. I will, as I do the videos, I'll do my presentation, and then I'll do a separate Q&A section at the end of the tapings, and then I'll leave you like a timestamp or something, so you'll know where to go to find that. All right, you all, I hope you have an incredible day. I hope you have an incredible week ahead, and I'll talk to you real soon. I'll be on here a couple of days with the new moon in Cancer. Pick a card, right? Be on the lookout for that. I'll talk to you soon.